Hello, we're here with episode number 26 of the Readiness Report, and we got a lot going on in the news. I mean, this has been a crazy last week, super crazy last week.
Yeah, especially with the election that doesn't seem to be over with yet.
No, it doesn't seem to be over, and that's one of the stories talking about the election. And we're definitely going to have our guest. I'm very excited, by the way, to have our guest on the show. Rob O'Neill wrote the book The Operator, and it talks about his time experience as a SEAL Team 6 Navy SEAL on the Red Squadron. He was one of the men chosen to go on the mission to go actually kill Osama bin Laden. A lot of guys went looking for Osama bin Laden, but he actually was on the mission to go kill him, and he was the actual man to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
So I believe he was the second man through the door, and the first guy was blocking. He went right in, saw Osama, and I believe he blew away. But we're going to hear it from him.
From him, yeah.
Yeah, from the,
a lot better from the horse's mouth.
Yes, exactly. My goal for the actual interview with Rob isn't just to hear about that. It's to ask questions that he hasn't commonly been asked. He's doing speaking all the time now. He's a very popular motivational speaker, goes and speaks to companies and talks about leadership. And almost all of them, he goes over the story of killing bin Laden. So it's like one of those things where it's like when we had Dakota Meyer on, we didn't really ask him much about the Medal of Honor.
Well, because that's the thing is that's the story. That's kind of table stakes. I'm sure he's tired of talking about that.
I'm sure he is. We'll have him talk about it a little bit, but I want to cover who the guy is, what is he doing now, and all the things that go around being Rob O'Neill. He lives a very exciting, interesting life. He's going around jetting from place to place, usually on a private jet, getting to speak to these big groups of people, making a lot of money doing it. So it's definitely an interesting life. I got to meet him in person recently at a charity event, the Bone Frog Open. So it was a cool opportunity to talk to him.
Yeah, like I say, to get from him some of the perspective on how did his life change? Because before, you're a Navy SEAL, you're not really known, and then all of a sudden you're, probably the most well-known SEAL that there is, and then all the shit that came with it after the book. So,
and we can actually talk about this. A good thing is when Obama actually announced that SEAL Team 6 killed bin Laden, it sent shockwaves through the Navy SEAL Naval Special Warfare community. Like these guys never were not acknowledged in that fashion. The president had never gotten up and said SEAL Team 6 killed anybody, and it wasn't mentioned.
It's interesting they did that they kind of put him out there like that.
A lot of them didn't like that.
I don't think I would have.
No, a lot of guys did not like that because they had done all kinds of things and it wasn't discussed. It wasn't something that was publicly announced. And a lot of those guys are warriors that wanted to stay in the shadows, and kind of Obama pushed them out and said, here are the guys.
Yeah, you think they would have just said U.S. Special Forces and left it at that.
Like
they always do. Yeah.
Well, that's a good question. We'll have to ask him. I'll make a note about that. What does he feel? How did he feel about Obama actually kind of outing them? And then obviously he went on to embrace that and do the book. So before we get into all that, we got plenty of time to spend, but first we're going to go to the news. And the first topic is Pfizer. So talking about the coronavirus, we kind of had a feeling, I thought the timing of this story or this release was very suspect.
A little bit, that's called suspect.
Yeah. So he even looks, he's a
little suspicious.
Yeah. Huh.
He's related to Ryan.
Early data shows that the vaccine is more than 90% effective, the Pfizer vaccine. So here we have the election, contested election. It looks like they're announcing Joe Biden as winner. The next day, 90% vaccine, 90% effective vaccine is released. Coincidence? I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like Sleepy Joe is the one that pushed this forward.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that, the stock market went up like crazy after that announcement.
And Pfizer stock went up, what, like 1.2%?
So things went up. The whole market went up because people started saying, well, obviously the coronavirus is not going to be solved. Now we can travel again. Plane stocks went up 10, 15%, 20% even. Cruise ships went up. Oil stocks even went up. Boeing stock, all the market in general went up significantly because this is basically saying this is going to be solved. You have a new president and that who knows, right? What's going to happen?
Yeah, people are hedging their bet now.
Yep.
And then with this, it was what? They're just finishing up their 2 months of safety data. So they're finishing their trials for that, but they're getting an emergency FDA clearance if all the safety data comes back.
Right.
So interesting.
And the next story actually also has to do with Pfizer because the Pfizer CEO cashed out 60% of his stock the same day that the company unveiled the results of his COVID-19 trial. And that's Albert Bourla. So it's 62% of his stock the same day the company announced. So this is 132,508 shares sold at an average price of $41.94 for a total of $5.6 million. Now, I will say CEOs selling their stock is not uncommon because they're given stock as part of their compensation package. it is unusual for a CEO to sell so much of their stock, because that would lead me to believe, if I'm an investor, which I'm not in Pfizer, to think that maybe we don't know the whole story. Like, why cash out now?
Yeah, because I was reading on that, because you'd think that would trigger some kind of insider trading investigation, but there's some form, I think it's like 10.5B1 or something like that, that allows CEOs to essentially engage in insider trading as long as that this is the interesting part about it, that they more or less say that by this date, I'm going to sell X percentage. Conveniently, it was the day after. So that was set in place, I guess, back in August 19th or something, that he said he was going to sell that amount of shares. But he had to have known when the announcement was coming. So that's the odd part about it, that it is insider trading, I guess, kind of, that's what I would say it was, but it's allowed due to some loophole that they've created.
Well, one thing for sure is, if you're an investor, you would look at that and be like, well, I don't know. It doesn't seem like he has any confidence in his own stock. Like Zuckerberg sells stock really like almost every quarter, but he's selling such a tiny amount. So he may sell like 2% of 2%,
Right.
or
this guy does 60%,
or like a tiny percent. So to sell 62, most of your shares of the company right before, because if it's me, like for example, me and you, we're coming out right now with the protein RTD, MRE RTD, and it's going to be a big fucking deal, huge deal. So if I were going to sell stock price, I would want, I would think to myself, well, what we are today is not what we're going to be when this product release. So I should at least wait to see where it goes. So for them, they have this vaccine. The first one's 80%, 90% effectiveness rate. How are they going to do 3, 4, 5 months from now when that is actually rolling? What's the urgency to sell? I know if it was me, I'd be like, fuck it, I'm not going to sell 62%.
Is there any benefit though to overall stock by him selling, where it liberates that stock, gets it into the market at a higher amount? I mean, is there?
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, there's supply and demand. I mean, he sells shares. There are a finite amount of shares. So actually the stock price could go down slightly unless there's people buying the stock. So it'd be like, imagine if the demand is lower, the price will go lower until there's more demand, more people buying, and now the stock will go up in price. But as far as I know, there's no benefit other than to him. He gets to pocket $5.6 million.
But obviously, if you're a CEO of Pfizer, that's probably not a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a weird move, man. It is a weird move, because I'm sure, I don't know, John or Ryan, can you check to see what's the salary of because that's public, Pfizer CEO salary?
I bet you it's
it's going to be
$5.6 million.
It'll be more than 5.6 million, I would think.
I'm sure his yearly bonus is more than that.
Yeah. Turns out maybe he just didn't have that many shares of his own company.
Unless you said he hedged his bet early and thought, hey, maybe
maybe this isn't going to work.
Yeah, and I was like, let's get rid of some of this.
Maybe there's going to be some lawsuits because it's going to cause some side effects, and I don't want nothing to do with it. Hypothetically. What do you got, Ryan? How much?
The boss of him, above Pfizer, so it says Pfizer's new boss, that's 17.9 million per year. So,
yeah.
So you can assume
that's him, right? The new boss. It's got to be that guy. Who?
Borla?
Yeah.
So Borla's 17.9 million.
Yeah. 17.9 million is pretty good. So, and for him, it's not that much. See, for
I
me,
can pay taxes on that.
Yeah. I wonder if there's if he did it for some other reasons, then maybe there was something else going on. But anyway, it is a weird look. Number 3 on our list of stories is Walmart teams up with electric car, self-driving car maker Cruise in the retail giant's latest push for futuristic delivery technology. We share a car, a Tesla.
Yep.
You really go and driving it, but we share it. And I have to say that
0.2 miles to work.
Yeah. You're putting all the miles in the car. So the car, the Tesla anyway, is a fantastic car. I mean, you got to admit, I know Darielle had her Model X, and she was having electronic issues and stuff.
It's always a little quirks here.
Yeah, there are little quirks, but all in all, I mean, it's a pretty damn cool car, and it sure feels like it's going to last a long time in terms of it doesn't have a lot of moving parts. So the actual car itself is simpler and
yeah, because you just have 2 electric motors, the battery. Still all the same suspension and brakes. It's like driving an iPhone.
Yeah, it's driving an iPhone.
That's pretty much what it's like. I mean, hell, I use my phone. I don't even have a key for the car. I just use my phone.
Exactly. And now the interesting thing is there's a lot of these little brands coming out. Nikola, which is Tesla.
Riven.
There's a whole bunch of them that are coming out that are almost like startups that are developing. And honestly, I think the future is extremely bright for all these companies. Give it 10 years, and they might be a majority of the cars on the road as electric in America anyway.
Yeah, I think that, you'll probably see that push. I mean, just there's a lot of other reasons. And
like the Hummer.
The Hummer. Yeah, the Hummer EV.
1,000 horsepower Hummer.
Yeah. Well, electric motors. I mean, hell, look at the new plaid Tesla that's coming out.
Yeah.
It's like 9-second quarter mile.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
But this is really not about electric cars. I mean, it is and it isn't, because they're talking about futuristic delivery methods. The idea is you want something from Walmart, or Amazon's doing the same thing, obviously. You want something, they can literally put it in the car, so you'd put it in your cart, and it sends it onto your house. Instead of having an Amazon driver, you have an Amazon car. Amazon robot maybe walks out and hands you your package, gets back in, jumps back in the car, and there it goes. The next
Looks like the little remote bomb tanks.
Yeah, well, exactly. So, I mean, obviously, people have heard a lot about that type of delivery, from drone delivery method to.
I think Walmart tried drones, didn't they, at one point?
Yeah, I know Amazon is in the process of doing drones still. I mean, they're really working on that. I think there's even some places now that are actively doing it, like for real, where if you're with like 10-mile radius of one of these drone places, they'll bring it to you like within 2 hours. Jeez. So there's the what everybody has always expected from from Amazon, which is next day delivery, right? And now almost everywhere in Boca anyway, they do same day delivery.
I order stuff that says 2-day delivery, and it's at my house later that day, just because it's at that DC that's close enough to me.
Yeah, now that we've gotten a few new DCs here, like you have a lot of things on a Sunday morning. You can order something Sunday night, it's there. But for the big cities, they're working on 2-hour delivery. So it's a guarantee, and they use a drone for something like that. They're talking about doing 30-minute deliveries, depending on where you are. Because obviously the drone only needs, look, you got a person or even a machine loads in this Total War into the drone, and the drone takes off. And how long is it going to take to get, a mile or two? Not long.
Yeah, General Motors owns Cruise now, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, they bought it. So it'd be interesting to see, because obviously with the surface roads, the self-driving part of the Tesla is just finally out of beta, right?
Yeah. Did you install the new firmware?
I think I did. I gotta remember.
So now it should have been it should be November, I believe. I'm not 100% sure. I think November at some point is the new firmware, so that you can do self-driving everywhere.
Yeah. So
you're checking out, Ryan, because there was a big update coming. Because when we got the car, we've got every option, and one of the things I was excited about was the full self-drive mode. But the downside is that the side roads it won't do. It's only major roads. So yeah, once you're on the highway, you can go and you can tell it where to get off and how to get over. But at some point, when it's smaller roads, it stops and says you got to drive. The thing I don't like about the self-driving thing, the thing I don't like the most, I was more comfortable with it than I thought I'd be, like just sitting back and whatever. I don't like that it only goes the speed limit.
Yeah, you can't override it.
No, I mean, I'm not like I want it to go super fast, but like if it says 35 and everybody's going 60, like down Clintmore, I mean,
yeah, now you have to drive the car.
You're going 35 miles an hour. It's nobody drives.
Just like all the old people around here.
Yeah, they'll all be beeping at you and zooming around you.
Even the old people.
I mean, for real, like on Clintmore, people, how fast do you go on Clintmore?
Oh, dude, Clintmore, you can do 70 on it.
I mean, most people are doing 50 to 60, really minimum.
Oh, yeah.
But if the speed limit is actually 35, like people would honk at you and stuff.
Oh, hell yeah, because you're blocking that whole main road home for everybody.
No. But next on our list, one story that I've been talking about a lot that I'm excited about is Palantir.
It's a tech stock, right?
It's the one I've been telling you to buy. I told a bunch of people.
Some recent changes in my personal finance.
Yes, I understand. But I told Taylor when I bought it, I told him that I bought it. I told a few people, and I bought it for $9.40 or so. And we had a drawback today of up to 19.05, but it was all the way to 16 this morning, 16.32 after hours last night. And I still think this is in its infancy. It had an IPO that really was poorly received. Didn't do nearly what they thought it was going to do. What Palantir actually is a data mining service that mines data off the internet and off of various sources, even initially specifically for military purposes, intelligence purposes, for the CIA, NSA, other intelligence gathering agencies, military, and it would use all the various inputs and then make predictive guesses about all kinds of things. Whether now they're doing it as for companies like ours, where they can predict where your customers are going to be, what they would like. But for them, if you want to find out where Osama bin Laden's hiding, Palantir is the one who will tell you how to find it.
How long has that technology been there?
They started in 2002 or 2003. It was a result of 9/11.
9/11, yeah.
Where they started feeling like, well, our technology or these smart people can get involved, and they got money from Peter Thiel, who's a famous investor, and it's been in the private sector for the whole 17 years of existence. doing about $800-900 million of mostly government contracts until this year, where they decided to go public, and that their partners like the CIA, NSA, et cetera, decided to allow them to be able to go public and talk about, because obviously it's weird to try to get investors when you can't tell people what you're doing.
Right.
And you can't show them any of the numbers. So they found a way around, while they still kept their top secret clearance and being used by, government agencies and military, but still allowed these awesome possibilities for companies like ours, our companies in general. So anything like predictive technology, targeting of customers, they're able to do. And there's 2 platforms they use now, 2 different interfaces they built. And one of them for military purposes. Another, I'll give you an example. So say some of the guys on Red Squad, where Rob with, they're hit a building, and there's what they call squirters, like guys who are running out, right? In the process of the guys running out, satellite imagery gets a picture of their face. That system will then be able to tell, based on the face, what's the name of the person, and then find out what's the probability of where he's going to go. So it'll use social media, cameras, other satellite imagery. If they've had a drone circling for a while, it will take all of this data that's available and give you probabilities of where he's going to go next. There'll be an 84% chance he's going to his sister's house. It's over there, right? Almost like
Minority Report.
Exactly. Minority Report, yeah.
Seriously, where's Tom Cruise in this?
Like there's a good chance he's about to kill that girl in 45 minutes.
So gonna go arrest him now.
Yeah. So literally, the technology is unbelievable and incredibly advanced and used by our tier 1 operators right now in the field and have been for a while. The cool thing that makes it so unique is that this technology has no competition. So there's not like, oh, well, there's Palantir, there's this one, like Amazon or Walmart's right on their trail. There's nobody like that.
How long till Google and Facebook try to get this technology?
It'll be interesting.
Because then they can sell it in their own way. And
I don't know. I think the government would have.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure the federal government's got this shit locked up.
Yeah, they're not going to want them going together with those guys. But yeah, I mean, they do use that technology. They scour the pages of Facebook and all the public information. So they're using it. Are they partners or working together? Who knows?
Yeah, I'm just saying it's powerful enough, especially because from a marketing perspective that.
Well, that's what I thought right away. I told Ryan, reach out to them for us. Because if they can figure out who our customers are, the names of them, their addresses, their everything.
What are they going to buy next? Where are they going to buy from?
Yeah, they can give you, because they can give you hypothetically, not just a list. So like when we get from Facebook, we'll get, lookalike customers. It may be a 2 million person set of lookalike customers, but we don't actually know their names or their genders or who they are. It's just this, group. And it's an anonymous group that Facebook is saying is similar. You can't say, well, Facebook, why is this one of the 2 million similar? What did he do last? Well, with Palantir, technically you could say, well, the reason we're choosing him is because he's a 33-year-old man who was at LA Fitness 4 times last week, likes BSN, and has a girlfriend that was wearing your shirt in a video past, right?
There's also one more kind of looking up technology that they're using it for also. So JP Morgan Chase is now using it to track their employees. So they're listening to the phone conversations they're having, reading the emails to see if there's anything insider happening. So now it also becomes kind of an employment Big Brother tool also.
Yeah, unfortunately, they got some trouble with that. It was one of the not so success stories because they had some of the employees, the top level employees, using the system to spy on employees. So they weren't just allowing the AI.
That's always what happens with technology.
So that's in other words, the AI was supposed to tell them if there's a problem. Oh, Eric Hurt's looking at porn again, right? And alert you. But you're not supposed to be able to actually go in and watch everything you're doing, read all your emails.
It's just an alert to it.
Yeah, it was meant to, but their JP Morgan people were abusing the technology to basically spy on employees.
Nice.
So McDonald's drink size TikTok video sparks online outrage. Johnny, play this thing. Let me see it. Okay, show me.
He's trying to TikTok, man.
I deleted my TikTok. Delete that shit off.
I still have it just to hold my name, but I don't ever go.
No, I have my name. Yeah. Let's see it, Johnny. Johnny, come on. Oh, Ryan.
Sent him the link.
Is asking him to log in to show it.
All right.
So essentially, long and short is the employee with no ice filled up a small cup full of soda, then dumped it into a medium cup, and then took the medium cup and dumped it into a large, and there's no difference in the volume that the cup held.
Really?
Yeah, which is one of the reasons why when McDonald's sells the $1 for any size drink, because you're actually only getting one size anyways. So what they do is the
bases are different.
base,
Yeah.
and then it gets more narrow and taller, more narrow and taller.
Really?
So the cylindrical
outraged
volume is
too. Yeah,
pretty
I
much
get
the
it.
same. Yeah.
But they call it small, medium, and large.
Mhm.
And they're all exactly the same.
And now
It
where
took
they
till
might
just now for somebody to figure this out?
that would be interesting is if on there, because most menus now you have to put calories. So small, medium, large, based on volume, should have different calories.
Sounds like a class action lawsuit.
Oh
waiting
yeah,
to
that's what I'm
happen.
saying. Someone's gonna jump on this.
Alert Jane Anthony.
Mhm.
All right, you guys got it?
Got it.
All right, let's see it. Here we go. Yeah.
Shaolin Law Group.
Small. He's pouring into the medium. It's the same. Okay. And now a large. That's really gonna fit in there?
Because the bottom is so narrow.
Yeah, you see how it. Now the only thing I will say that you don't see from this video is, was there any volume in the cup to begin with? So I'm guessing there's not, because I mean, I'm sure some packaging engineer at some point figured out like, just make it a little bit smaller here, and because it's down to pennies.
Yeah. Very interesting. I would never have known. Those sneaky bastards at McDonald's.
It's not gonna stop you from going there one day.
No, I can't wait to. I love McDonald's. All right. So quick update on election. Actually, you know what? Let's bring Rob in. We'll do a commercial break. When we come back for a commercial break, we'll have Rob O'Neill on the show, and we can start off before we get into anything about Rob. We'll get his take on the election, because there is certainly a lot to say, and we don't want to waste too much time, because we can talk all day about that. But I'd like to hear his take. So we'll go to commercial break, and we'll be right back with Robert O'Neill. All right, welcome back to the show. I'm very proud and happy to have on the show a great American patriot, SEAL Team 6, former SEAL Team 6 operator, the man who killed bin Laden, and one hell of a good guy. Robert O'Neill, welcome to the show, buddy.
What's up, gentlemen? How you doing?
Not much, man, not much. I wanted to say a pleasure meeting you in person at the Bone Frog Open. We went at McBee's event. It was a great success. I don't know how well you golfed. I didn't do so hot, but it was still fun.
Yeah, I didn't hit it very well, but it's always fun to get golf events, especially something that McBee is hosting. He's a great host. He does all the little things right, and he's one of those guys, Darren McBurnett, that when he picks something up for eight, it takes him 8 months to get really good at it. That's what he does. But great time, great meeting you finally, and what a great event.
Yeah, man, for sure. So before we get into you, let's talk about this election, man. It has been a total shit show, and I got to say that I was really obviously hoping for a different result, and now we're in the middle of something really unusual. What do you think about this? What were you? What was your experience watching all this go down?
Well, I've been saying something like this is going to happen for about a year now, because the Democrats have put them into a place where they could use alternate ways to vote because they use the excuse of voter suppression to make sure nobody needs an ID to vote. And that's just their way to get illegals and dead people to vote. And then just with the COVID thing, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. And, I wish everybody did the right thing, but that was an excuse to keep everyone at home, to use COVID as an excuse to mail in ballots. And we got dead people voting. We've got people voting a bunch of times. We got ballot harvesting. And what I say is not going to affect anything, and I'm not going to get too upset about it. But if you can't see what's happening here, I would say that pretty much everybody knows what's happening, but half of us will not admit it, because everything now seems to be about party politics. And that's kind of stuff that Thomas Jefferson warned us about. And, I get asked, will I support President Biden? Of course, because I'm an American. I supported President Trump and I supported President Obama because I'm an American. I worked for President Bush. I supported him and Clinton as well because I'm an American. But I just wish everybody had that same view that it's all about the country, not about the party, and not about individual power, which a lot of people in Washington, that's what they're doing. It's not the person who's in the White House for 4 years that's ruining the country. It's the person who's in the Capitol for 50 years. There's the issue. Term limits need to happen.
Yeah. Rob, I read something today, a statistic, 68% of the people polled, whether they're left-leaning or right-leaning, 68% of the people don't trust the election, don't trust the process, think there could be something wrong, that there's voter fraud one way or another. Even if they're happy with the results, still 68% of people
they
don't trust it. That's a pretty scary thing for America.
It's a scary thing too, and it's a scary thing that a lot of people believe the nonsense. Like, I need an ID to go down to FedEx and send a package, but I can go and not even sign and vote. I don't need an ID because that's voter suppression. It's nonsense. A simple solution to this is, show up in person, give them your ID, sign it. No one gets to see it. And you put it in the box. Make your vote, sign it, and put it in the box. And then if you can't, you don't need to be sending out ballots like their fast food or Chinese buffet menus at every apartment building. It's you fill out the form, sign it, prove who you are, you get an absentee ballot. Do that in plenty of time. But Instagram's been telling us since January how to vote. Don't say, oh, I didn't know how to do it, and I can, as long as it's postmarked November 3rd. It's nonsense. And these are politicians using that to keep themselves in power, and it's too bad.
Yeah, it definitely is too bad. And when people don't believe that the elections are real or that the numbers are real, it erodes confidence in the whole system in general. And that's certainly something we don't want to have, because like you said, and I have certainly felt the same as you. I've respected every president. And I was shocked and appalled at the lack of respect that we saw over this last 4 years for Donald Trump. It's unbelievable, shocking to see the reporters scream at him and people being disrespectful. And I would never do like that.
Like even reporters in the press pool just sitting down with their legs crossed. When you address the president, you stand up. You address him as Mr. President, at least at first, and then you talk to him like he's in the office of the presidency. And you respect that office. And they were doing resist, then Russia, then impeach for 4 years, and now they get Biden. And it's out. Now we can heal. Yeah, it's like, all right, because you finally got your way.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So, like I said, we could talk about this all day.
Oh yeah.
But I wanted to get into you, and my goal is to Rob is to ask you some questions that are different than you've been asked. And you've had the great fortune of being an awesome speaker and having a chance to go speak in front of big groups of people and talk about your story. And obviously, when you do any interviews or when you speak in front of a group of people, you often have to repeat yourself a lot. And I'm going to have you do it a little bit, but I'm going to do my best to ask different questions than you might have been asked a million times already.
Well, that makes me happy. Thanks for taking the time to do that.
I'll do my very best. So I'm going to start off with one that you've been asked a million times. I have to start with that. But so what made you want to be a SEAL? And the funny thing is, like, it seems like most team guys that we've talked on the show and that I know personally knew very young that this is something that they wanted to do. What point did you know that?
I knew it pretty much the day I joined, because I was at a time in life where it was time to leave. And I think every person at around 18 or 19, no matter if they're from Fredericksburg, Virginia, or Butte, Montana, where I'm from, it's time to leave. Everything was going wrong. So the easiest way to leave Butte, Montana is to join the Marine Corps. So I went to join the Marine Corps, and he wasn't there. The Marine recruiter was not in the office. And I have known since then that sometimes it's better to be lucky than it is to be good. Because as luck would have it, the Navy guy, the recruiter, was in there. And I only went in to ask him where the Marine was, because I had Marine friends tell me a joke that the Marine Corps is actually part of the Department of the Navy. It's just the men's department, which is true. So I went in there. If anyone's going to know where the Marine is, he will. And he said, "Why do you want to be a Marine?" I said, "I want to be a sniper. And Marines have the best snipers in the world." He said, "Look no further. We have snipers in the Navy. You need to become a SEAL first. Knock that out and you'll be fine." I didn't know what a SEAL was, but I was 19, but I figured this guy's a recruiter. Why is he going to lie to me? So I signed up and I kind of went after it from there.
So that means you didn't see like the Charlie Sheen movie. You didn't.
No, I did. No, I did. I did see the Sheen movie, and I know Charlie well. I talked to him yesterday, and he's always humble when he finds out that real Navy SEALs became SEALs because of that movie, which is true. But I saw it when it came out in the late 80s, early 90s, and I didn't really know what it was. They didn't show training in that particular movie. I just knew they were cool, and I'm like, well, I guess I'll do that. Even though I didn't know how to swim, I'll go ahead and try that.
So did you for Buds, did you do a lot of training in advance? Did you do a lot of training?
I did, but not as much as a lot of guys had. I had 5 months from the time I joined to the time I shipped out for boot camp. And I had a guy from my high school that actually went on to swim at Notre Dame, teach me the breaststroke and the side stroke. So I had 5 months of swimming, and I felt comfortable. But when I got to SEAL training, there were dudes that, played college water polo. They really knew how to swim. And the first time I went down to a park in Butte, Montana that had a jungle gym to try to do pull-ups, I couldn't do 2. So I didn't know, skinny fat guy with long arms, those are hard. And fortunately I did learn then something about keeping it simple. The only way to get better at pull-ups is to do more pull-ups.
Yep.
So I just started knocking them out. And I did get to a point, not at Buds, but afterward, as you guys know, along with weighted pull-ups, my goal was to do 40 dead hang pull-ups, which was cool. But I got there over the course of years of training.
Yeah, it's the going to Buds now. It's interesting because you hear a lot of questions, or I see a lot of questions from kids who are wanting to be a SEAL. And the truth is that it doesn't seem like there are people that are going to make it through or not going to make it through. And the amount of training, like you said, you did 5 months of training. Some of these kids will do 5 years of training and still not make it through.
Right, because you always hear that the SEAL training is mental, and that's true. But it's the mental part of being physical. Like, you can make your body do a lot more through your mind than you realize it. And if your mind goes, you guys know this, if your mind goes, you're done. I've never heard anyone say, well, I wasn't going to make it, but my body pulled me through. It's your mind getting you through it. I speak a lot now. A lot of people I speak to are like high school kids, and a common answer or a question is, what should I do to get ready for SEAL training? And I'll answer their question with a question. I'll say, what are you doing to get ready? And a common answer is, I'm taking cold showers to get used to it. And I said, that's a bad idea, because let me explain it to you this way. If I told you in 30 days, I'm going to kick you in the nuts as hard as I can, and in order to get ready for it, you had your best friend kick you in the nuts every single day, it's still going to suck when I do it. Sometimes you don't get used to it. Embrace the suck when it comes. Take warm showers whenever you can.
Yeah. What was it like growing up in Montana? Do you think that helped you? I mean, Montana, I love Montana. Man, talk about beautiful, big sky, right? I mean,
the sky's just big up there. Yeah, it definitely helped me, because I didn't realize this at the time either. I grew up at about 6,000 feet, and just over the course of 18 years being acclimated to that thin air, that helped me with the soft sand runs in Coronado. A lot of guys have trouble with the sand runs because they're just hard, and it's a technique to running in soft sand and just not getting enough air. But just because I was acclimated to not having air, I was able to run well. It didn't help me with my swimming because my technique sucked, but the running and the physical stuff, I was able to breathe big gulps of air. So that definitely helped. And then knowing how to navigate my way through mountains in the dark, hunting, because you have to beat the elk up the mountain and wait for them as opposed to chasing them. So you got to climb in the dark. Just getting used to awkward terrain, carrying guns, knowing where to wear your gear, how to hydrate, how to wear certain gear when you're walking, so you don't overheat. And then as soon as you sit down, put the warm stuff on so you don't freeze. So that definitely helped.
Once you're in there, Rob, and you're through Buds, you do SQT, and you're on a team. Did you have like a career path in mind? Did you know like what you wanted to do?
No. Again, I always tell people the only time the perfect plan exists is in the planning room. Once you leave to do something, everything will change. So life happens around you as you're planning. I mean, you might have a way you're going to go, but it's rarely a direct path. Mine was join the Navy to be a SEAL on accident. And then if I don't make it, I'll go to the fleet, be on a ship for 4 years, come back to Butte, Montana, sit at Maloney's bar and tell sea stories. But then I made it. And then it's sort of like, wow, I got to figure out how to be a Navy SEAL. So I'll just stay 4 years there. But then I met the guys. I met the team guys and the deployed, saw Europe, some parts of Africa. And 4 years, life flies by. I'll just re-enlist. So I'll do one more deployment. I'm young, hang up the guys. And then 9/11 happens. Boom. I gotta stick around. I can't leave. I gotta fight. I found out about SEAL Team 6. I gotta see what they're all about. And I went there. It was just sort of a one after another, sticking around. I always tell people, wherever you are, be there.
Yeah. You were, I guess if 9/11 hadn't happened, would you imagine that you would have done that second?
No,
second 4 years?
I was already planning my out. I'd done enough, a couple deployments. I was officially a Navy SEAL. We're never going to war. I don't necessarily want to do this forever. Maybe I'll finish my degree and then go work with my dad, make some money, settle down, get married, start a family at 27 years old, 28 years old.
Yeah, I mean, that's the position a lot of guys are in now, because a lot of guys in the teams now are, we have one that's coming to work for us next week, who was in the position he did 10 years or 11 years, 10 years or so. And he never, the chances of him seeing action and getting in combat, he kind of missed the window of seeing combat. And then like you said, what's the point? Do you just keep waiting forever?
No, I don't think you do. And again, it's a matter of being in the right place at the right time. I was part of that generation of some of the guys my age. I'm sure you know a bunch of them. I'm not going to name them because they didn't tell me to, but we just hit that window, that 2004 to 2011, where we were in some of the hairiest combats in Vietnam. And it's not because we were better than the guys in the 90s. I mean, the guys in the 80s and 90s invented our tactics. They came up with this stuff. We just got to use it and adapt to it. But you never know. I mean, one day you're hanging out on Monday, September 10th, wondering what you're going to do, where you're going to go skiing in the winter. And then September 11th happens. We're going to war now for a long time. And you never know when it's coming. You're not going to get picked if you're not there, but are you going to stick around forever? Are you going to make your mark? It's really, really hard to tell, especially in this line of work.
So I have to ask, obviously, about 9/11. So where were you in the pipeline? What were you doing during that time? Where were you actually physically at when it happened? I
was at Naval Special Warfare Unit 2 in Stuttgart, Germany, and we had just finished not a deployment, but a trip to Kosovo, because we were doing a peacekeepers mission. So we would send I was a sniper there at SEAL Team 2, and what we would do is go out and set up hide sites and observe for a few days, different spots, making sure people weren't committing genocide. And at the time, that seemed like that was the biggest game. Like, you're a war hero if you do that nonsense. But it was basically just it was just really good training in a real world environment. And so we came back from Kosovo, we cleaned our gear, and then we were catching up on emails in the operations center on the second floor. And a couple different TV screens happened to be on, and obviously they went to breaking news. One of the towers in Lower Manhattan had been hit by a small plane, and we're kind of looking at it, and everyone's like, "Wow, that's a big building. We've all been there. That's a big hole. I don't know. It's a clear day." And then a second plane hits, and someone in the operations center said Osama bin Laden within 15 seconds.
Wow.
And then the whole thing changed. We don't know where we're going to go. We're already overseas, forward deployed. Are we going to go to Sudan to fight Al Qaeda right now? I mean, our gear's clean. We just cleaned it. The gun works. Nobody knew what we were going to do. So it was, again, we're starting from square one now.
You guys, I'm imagining some people at home watching will think this is weird, but I know you must have been pumped up, right?
Yeah, we knew the world changed. We weren't sure how to feel about it, because we didn't know who we were going to be fighting. It had always been the Vietnam War, or the guys who went to Patia Airfield in Panama. Who are we going to fight? Are we supposed to do hydrographic reconnaissance as we swim in from a ship? But then it's like, you start getting the intelligence together. You start seeing these fighters in the mountains, the Mujahideen who were fighting the Russians. And we're like, it's about to get serious. But being naive, it's almost like, well, I hope we get back over there quickly, because it's going to be over real soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you, how long did it take for you to actually get a combat deployment out there?
Well, we finished that one in 2001. And then we got back. And unfortunately, the way the pipeline works at the teams, you need to work up for at least a year with your new platoon. So it's going to take a while to get back. So that's when I put in my, it's going to call screening. I put in my application for SEAL Team 6.
Yeah.
But those classes are so backed up that I had to do another deployment overseas with SEAL Team 4 in 2003, which I thought was great because we were on a ship in the Mediterranean, and our plan was to go in with the Marine Corps for the invasion of Iraq through Turkey.
Mm.
And that would have been awesome. We were excited. As a sniper, I wanted to deploy with the Marines because they're going to get in the fight and they're going to need sniper support. It's going to be a great way to invade a country, which was totally mind-boggling to me. There was a problem with the Turks. They politically didn't want us to go through there, whatever. And then we had some sort of a rising up in Monrovia, Liberia, where the embassy was getting surrounded. There was a civil war going on. So they actually turned us and the Marines around, and we had to go swim into Liberia while the invasion is going on in Iraq to help secure the embassy there. So that was really weird. We didn't see much action then. And then when that one ended, I went over to selection course, Green Team for SEAL Team 6. And then I finally got over to Afghanistan in 2004. 2005, sorry.
5. So in for going through Green Team, did you have, was it difficult for you, or is it, I know obviously it was.
That's a difficult course. The attrition rate's 50%, and it's all Navy SEALs going through it, which is impressive. These are SEALs with at least 5 years experience, and 50% of them don't make it through selection. And it's just because it's a mindset mentality. It's not it is physical, but it's not physical like buds. It's like a 12 to 14 mile run at a 7-minute pace every day type stuff. And then you go through the kill house, CQB, all that stuff, really difficult, high altitude, high opening jumps. A lot of mental games where even if you don't screw an evolution up, they hammer you for screwing an evolution up to see how you handle making a mistake that you didn't make. Even though everyone knows you didn't make it, they beat you for it. And the lesson there is, can you get over it? Like, we know you didn't screw up, but we punished you. Can you get over it? And that's a lesson. Even a lesson that's good for life. Whatever it is, get over it.
Yeah, right. For sure. That kind of segues into, I wanted to ask about that, and also is lessons for life in general. So all this time, the 16 years you spent on the teams, you take a lot of those lessons and talk about them in your public speaking. The main things that you have distilled down, can you give us a few of the main ideas that you think people that aren't team guys that just are trying to be better at life, what they can get from your experience?
Yeah, a big one is effective communication. If you're leading a team, make sure your people, for some reason, people get on power trips and they love that stupid saying, you just a need to know basis and you don't need to know. That's nonsense. Make sure your people know exactly what they're doing. And if they know what they're doing and why they're doing it, they'll be better. And the key to effective communication is when you're done saying what you're saying, stop saying it. There's no reason to have a 40-minute meeting when we can have a 2-minute meeting and let them go. If there's nothing to do, let them go home. Take care of your family, stuff like that. Be nice. If you're a leader, there's nothing wrong with saying please and thank you for normal work. Not all the time, but occasionally, because if morale is high, the team works harder. I had a boss that would, instead of yelling at me, because if you yell at someone, their natural reaction, especially alpha males, is to fight back. But I had a boss that would say, man, you're just better than that, and leave. It's like, oh my God, I'll never do that again to you. Effective communication, don't over-plan, but make sure you're prepared. Because like I was saying at the beginning, as soon as you over-plan, the worst thing imaginable could happen that comes out of nowhere. The realization that is everyone's had their first day somewhere, whether you're the CEO of a company or the guy that went into bin Laden's bedroom. We've all been there the first day, and we've all been nervous. But just keep in mind, slow down, take a deep breath. You're going to get used to it no matter where you are. And 90% of the stuff you worry about never happens anyway. And if your worrying isn't going to affect it regardless, you're wasting energy. Stop worrying about it. Yeah. I mean, just little things like that, and keep it simple. We were a good example of keep it simple, as like down to the lowest degree possible. We were having a trouble when assault teams come through different angles of houses. Eventually, we're going to turn onto each other somewhere, and we're trying to figure out the best way to not shoot each other because bullets flying, everyone's high on adrenaline. So we're like, now, do we put a chem light under the door? Do we knock on the door? Do we yell blue, blue, blue? That's going to give you away. You might as well say, here we are. We decided the easiest way to do it is we had new rule, guys. Don't shoot the guy who looks like you.
Mm.
Seems simple.
Yeah.
So keep it simple. If you want to be fast, slow down. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Yeah. All very good advice. Now I read that you had done, Rob, you'd done over 400 ops. Is that correct?
Yeah, over 400. Mm-hmm.
And I also read, well, I read your book as well, but I read that you believed when you were going for the Osama bin Laden raid that you weren't going to come back. That this was that you thought this may be, or that it was potentially your last mission.
Yes, we were all aware that it was a one-way mission.
Why do you say that? Because you were worried about vests and stuff?
No, we're infiltrating into a sovereign nation, one of our allies. And we don't know if this technology works, and we don't know how good their anti-air defenses are. And if they shot us down, we can't even be mad at them because that's what they should do. We don't know if we're going to run out of fuel on target because we don't have forward operating bases on the way in where we can refuel. It's a one in, one out. And if we run out of fuel, we're going to be stuck on the ground, God forbid, fighting the police, because we don't want to fight the police. We're not at war with them. If we're going to get in a gunfight as soon as we land, which we did, and if anyone's going to blow himself up, it's bin Laden and kill everyone inside the house. So we were pretty sure we weren't coming. There's a very high probability we're not coming home.
Yeah. Was that the scariest mission?
No, that wasn't scary because we had accepted death. And once you accept that, it's more of it's an acceptance, and there's no reason to be afraid. We're all going in together, and this is what we came to do. Even if we did have the opportunity to pull out, but it's almost like that Braveheart talk. Like, okay, if we pulled out now and we lived to be 85 years old, on our deathbeds, would we take every day back from that day to here for that one night? And the answer is yes. This is what we came here to do. And we were actually, even though I had a guy pull me aside and he said, look, don't get me wrong. I'm going 100% going. I just need to say it out loud so I can hear it. If we know we're going to die, why are we going? And we had that conversation and we decided we're not going after Osama bin Laden for the reward, which we're not getting. We're not going for the fame and we're not going for the bravado. We're going after Osama bin Laden for the single mom who dropped her kids off at elementary school on a Tuesday morning. And then 45 minutes later, she jumped to her death out of a skyscraper because for some reason we'll never know. That's a better alternative than whatever hell is going on inside the building at 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. And her last gesture of human decency was holding her skirt down so no one could see up it as she murdered herself. We're going for the Americans that fought Al-Qaeda, the first Americans to fight Al-Qaeda on Flight 93, when they took a vote to fight Al-Qaeda and they saved the capital. They're not supposed to be in the fight. We're supposed to be in the fight. And that's why we're going. So we were pumped up. There wasn't a lot of fear in that one.
It's certainly, I can totally get listening to that, how you would get pumped up and it would certainly be worth it. What was the scariest mission? If that one wasn't the one where you're like
the scariest mission is again one of those missions where it never goes as planned. We decided that there were some compounds right on the other side of Pakistan where Al-Qaeda was housed up, and they knew they were safe there. But we knew that if we got close enough and got them to shoot at us, we could engage inside of Pakistan because of rules engagement. We can go a certain amount of 10 clicks inside of Pakistan. So our plan was to go up there at night, have the sun come up, let them see us. They can shoot at us, and then we'll bomb them. But as we're up there, we have a little bit of high ground. They saw us, and they started coming up with trucks of dudes. And we're looking at it. It's noon, and it's like, okay, this is bad. Now, we can keep the high ground, but we don't have any planes, or we can try to beat it and go on down to the blind side of this mountain and run out. And we decided that. And there's only a few of us. There was like 6 Americans and maybe 20 Afghans. So we're going down the hill. We kind of link up, and they ambushed us. They got us on 3 shots. I actually had one of my interpreters say, didn't speak English. I'm sorry, one of my, not my interpreter, but he was trying to talk to my interpreter, but he just looked up and said, bad guys, bad guys. And then all hell broke loose. We got surrounded on 3 sides. And it was actually, I had a backpack on. We used to carry our gear in what's called lines of gear. So you have your first line, your second line, your third line. And your first line gear is your most important stuff. So it's closest to your body. It's on your belt. It's in your pocket. So that's like a knife and Copenhagen, like the shit you need. And then the second line is second most important. So your ammo, grenades, and some water. Third line is your least important gear: extra socks, foot powder, sleeping bag, stuff like that. The reason I've been told so far, never heard of anyone doing it, is in case you're running, you can take off your gear in order of line. So you dump your backpack. And anyway, I was about 100 yards away from my my radio guy, Tony, and he'd never been he never called real air support in a gunfight. So I need to get next to him so I can coordinate it. So I dropped my backpack and I ran over to Tony and I laid down. I'm kind of pointing out, here's where I want the bombs. And he said, well, we don't have any aircraft. So we had to lay there, and I'm talking about getting lower than the lowest rock you can. As you can hear just stuff zipping past you, tracers, air bursts, like so close that you can you look down to see if your legs are still there. So we're kind of laying there. It got so bad. It wasn't even scary getting shot at. It was scary that these dudes were so close. I could hear them yelling, Allahu Akbar, like God is great. Like these guys are serious, and it's not going to be good when they catch up to us. And there's no worse feeling than having when someone shoot a gun at you and you know your bullets can't reach them. So you're just laying there, whatever. This went on for an hour. And it's scary in the daylight, seeing dudes in brown uniforms running this way, running that way. And we know what they're trying to do. And finally, so my backpack's way over there. And Tony yelled at me, he goes, okay, I got one. I got a jet. I was like, awesome. He hit him where I told you. And he goes, well, the bad news is my batteries just died. And because we've been overnight. And so I'm not a big believer in micromanaging, but I looked at Tony and I said, change the batteries, Tony. And he said, I'm not carrying the spares. Remember, you are. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, don't tell my mom I did this. I got to get the battery. So I had to stand up and run 100 yards, sun's above us. Allahu Akbar. I get over there. There's bullet holes in the backpack. I pick them up, run back. I chuck them to Tony. Tony changes them out. We're getting ready to bomb. And here's why I love pilots. We're on the air, and his call sign was Dude 12. And he's like a 27-year-old badass from the Air Force Academy. And he knew that us calling in under this gunfire, there's a lot of adrenaline going on. He doesn't want to go through the process. So to calm us down, he said, just talk to me like I'm a man. And I responded with, I see why women find you attractive. And so but that was the scary part because it wasn't supposed to happen. Then it happened. Now you're to the point wondering, okay, I'm going to get hit in the head now. And what does that feel like? And how long does it take for me to get to Valhalla? Like what happens after that? But then you finish and then it's like, that wasn't so bad.
I thought we were going to hear about the batteries having holes in them from bullets.
No, the backpack had holes. They missed the batteries.
Imagine that. That would have been some shit.
Oh, yeah. I'm on my own at that point. You're good, Tony.
Did any time this, so my friend Sean Rosario, who's a Gold Squadron guy.
Oh, yeah. He's awesome.
He's a great guy, good friend. And he told me about his first mission into Iraq, and he was landing, the helicopter was going to land on site, but they got like an assload of machine gun fire, incoming machine gun fire, and it was going through the helicopter. And obviously, there's nothing you can do when you're in the helicopter. It's almost like you're in God's hands here. And so his gunner got shot in the head on the way down, and bullets are going through everywhere, and they're trying to help the gunner and keep him alive. And he lands, and then the story goes that it ended up being a good op, but that was his first experience.
The first one, yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, that's
experience. And then when it was all over, he told me the story. He's like, when it was all over, I was so thankful I made it because there were so many bullet holes in the helicopter, like thousands of bullet holes. And I was like, so for me, thinking about me, I'd be like, well, that was such a close call. I'm never going to do that again.
No, that's true because it's normally the opposite. You go in thinking that's going to happen, and then it doesn't for 20 missions, and then it does happen, and then you kind of that's how you get experience. As shitty as it sounds, like most people don't have that first experience. Like my first experience when I went out with some of my guys, my bosses, being afraid because of what I've seen on the news, but then looking at them and seeing how they handled it and how cool they were. I just started thinking I want to be cool like that guy. And what I later learned as a team leader was okay, panic is contagious. If you panic, everyone around you will panic. But what else is contagious as a leader is calm. It doesn't matter what I'm feeling because you can't see that. If I portray calm to you, you will be calm. So just be calm. And that's what gave me my experience. But yeah, I mean, I didn't have a guy get shot in the head on my first mission.
Yeah. You guys have a big advantage too. Generally, that's an unusual mission, right? You have this incredible training. You have better equipment. You're usually going in at night, right, when they're not expecting you. Going in the middle of the day at noon has got to be like almost a one-off, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, we by far did not have the most dangerous jobs in the military. It's the guys that are driving the roads in Fallujah, the soldiers walking through minefields in Afghanistan, the Marines on the ground. You know, they have the door-to-door fighting in Ramadi. They have a much more dangerous mission than we did, and we got to fight on our terms.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like we could turn missions down, but we kind of could sometimes when they didn't make sense. A lot of these guys are just going because they're going. I was talking to some Marines in Fallujah, and I was asking them, well, why are you yelling? Why don't you just get on your radio? And they're like, we don't have radios.
Huh.
So, I mean, there's a guy, and fighting at night the way we did with the top-of-the-line gear lasers and night vision, yeah, we had a definite advantage.
Yeah, for sure. So I will ask you one thing about the Bin Laden stuff. One more thing, and we're moving past that. When you actually entered the room and shot him, and you knew you had got him, that he was dead, what was the feeling like? You know, was it one of relief, happiness?
Well, initially, I went in his room because the guy in front of me went straight as an act of bravery to try to absorb a suicide blast so the guy behind him could shoot. And so because he went this way, I went that way. And when I saw Bin Laden standing up, I recognized his nose. You know, his beard was shorter than I thought. He was taller and skinny, but I recognized his nose, assumed he's a suicide bomber by the way he was moving. So I shot him, he went down, and he had his hands on his wife Amal's shoulders. So I moved her. It happened quickly. I moved her to the bed, and then his 2-year-old son was there. And as a father, my initial reaction was, well, this poor kid's got nothing to do with this. And so I picked him up. I remember thinking, is this the best thing I've ever done or the worst thing I've ever done? And it sort of sunk in. And I'm standing there. Other Navy SEALs are coming in the room now. They're doing our sensitive side exploitation. And I'm just standing there. I'm kind of frozen. And a guy came up to me, one of my guys, and said, are you good? You okay? And I said, no. What do we do now? And he said, now we find the computers. We do this every night, hundreds of times. And I said, yeah, you're right. I'm back. Holy shit. And he said, yeah, you just killed Osama bin Laden. Your life just changed. Let's get to work.
Yeah.
So it takes a while.
Yeah, I'm sure. Obviously when this happened, some unusual things happened. Obama came out and said SEAL Team 6 killed Osama bin Laden. Obama said it. Sorry.
Yeah. Biden said it.
Those are not the same guys. Those are not the same. Well, don't believe the conspiracy theories. No, Obama came out and said that SEAL Team 6 killed Osama bin Laden. Very, very unusual, right? Something like that generally doesn't happen.
Well, I think Joe Biden said it.
Oh, did Joe Biden say it? Okay.
I believe so. They confirmed it. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that was as big of a deal as a lot of people say, because for me, I didn't have a problem with letting the bad guys know that we have a group of people that when we find you, we will come get you wherever they are. Yeah. So that didn't bother me. Some guys weren't comfortable with it because it put SEAL Team 6 on the map. But, you know, we, a year, I think, 2 years, no, 1 year, whatever, a couple years prior, you know, we rescued Captain Richard Phillips, and that they announced SEAL Team 6 on that one too. Yes. So they kind of knew where we were. They've been, you know, guys that have written books before. I mean, believe it or not, I'm not the first guy to write a book. Yes. I did get mine approved, though, just to put that out. Not a lot of guys did. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, people knew about it. But again, I get it, because as secretive as you try to be, you do a quick Google search, you can find out where it is. And I understand guys getting concerned, because, I mean, a lot of guys are very serious about operational security. So it did change. I mean, we were surprised to see it all over the internet as soon as we got back to the base.
Did that cause you to worry about your personal safety whenever you were going to be back?
It did. It really did at first. And then my name started to get out very quickly around the Virginia Beach, San Diego, Washington, D.C., New York area. And I didn't know how to handle that. And that was weird. And then it came out further and further. So it got to a point where I wasn't afraid anymore, but I definitely needed to keep it in consideration. And the preparation is still very high. Did
you tell your friends and your folks and stuff? Like, I guess two parts. Did you tell them initially, hey, I'm on SEAL Team 6, or did you tell them when this all happened? Like, did you give them some heads up?
No, I stuck with the party line of Naval Special Warfare Development Group, and we test and evaluate and develop tactics and weapons and stuff like that. My dad was one of those guys that always assumed I was everywhere. Like, I was in SEAL training. There's a Life magazine out about drown proofing, and he's like, "Yeah, that's definitely you on the fourth from the left in this picture." I'm like, "Dad, that's not even my class. That's not me." But he always kind of knew. But then on when we rescued Captain Phillips, it was on my birthday. We were leaving Virginia Beach on Good Friday, April 10th, 2009. And I called my dad, not telling him anything. And he just assumed, "Hey, you're going to get that guy." I'm like, "Dad, shut up." And then I didn't tell anybody about the Bin Laden raid before we left, but I did call my dad. He didn't even know we were in Afghanistan, didn't know anything about Bin Laden. And I just kind of thanked him for, growing up and teaching me how to be a man, teaching me how to shoot free throws and how to hunt and all that stuff. And he didn't know what the hell was going on. And but he there was one thing he would always do. I'd call him before a lot of missions, and he would always say, "I wish I was going with you." And I'd say, "Yeah, Dad, I do too." And before the Bin Laden raid, I called him and I said, "Hey, I gotta go to work." And he said, "I wish I was going with you." And I said, "Dad, don't worry about it. I'm with some really good guys right now." And so he knew something. And he actually was in a parking lot at a Walmart in Butte, Montana. And he said he stumbled in there, and the two words he loves to mispronounce are catatonic and apoplectic. And he just said that's what he was. And he ran into his sister, who was an intensive care nurse. And she's like, didn't know what was going on with him. And he knew something was up. But we got back, and he was sitting at home, and he saw that, "Tonight I can report to the American people and to the world, the United States conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda." And my dad's like, "Now you got to be kidding me." But I didn't tell him about it. No one knew about it before we left.
So transitioning out, how long did you stay in after the Bin Laden raid? How much longer?
I stayed in. My end of active obligated service, what do they call it? EAOS, was that next January. So we killed Bin Laden in 2011. My end of service was 2012, January. So I was going to get out then. I made peace with the Navy. And then in August of that year, we lost so many guys on Extortion 1-7. We lost 31 Americans, to include the dog. We lost so much combat experience from Gold Squadron that we needed to split up people to different squadrons just to help regain. So I extended until August, did one more deployment with a different squadron, with Silver Squadron, went to Afghanistan one more time, same gun, and then finished up. And I had terminal leave from about March of 2012 to August, and then I got out in August of 12.
Did you ever consider staying on and finishing 20 years?
I considered it, but the thing is, like, seeing Extortion get hit and losing so many people. I had daughters I want to see get married. There'd been so many close calls. I was on the Lone Survivor mission. I was on Phillips and Bin Laden, and it's like it's just time. I stopped getting adrenaline in gunfights. And complacency will get you killed. Boredom will get you killed. And a bullet only needs to be right once. And it was time. I was offered a job to go to Arizona and teach skydiving for the rest of my career, but for me, it was just time.
Yeah. Yeah. So most people, the stories I hear, quite a few of them, transitioning is difficult.
It is.
When you're living a life where even a gunfight isn't giving you any adrenaline.
True.
So coming back and going grocery shopping and being Mr. Mom or whatever, it can be very difficult. Did you have that same kind?
I had that difficulty too, because I didn't know what I was going to do, and a lot of guys, men and women, don't know what they're going to do. But I had a bunch of leave. I'd accrued a bunch of leave called terminal leave, where I would get paid until I got out. And I realized from talking to some contacts in DC and San Francisco and New York that there are certain skill sets special operators have. Team building, leading, being led, effective communication. Most importantly, how to solve a problem, how to manage your time and stress. And I actually started a foundation. We started it off, Your Grateful Nation, but now it's called Special Operators Transition Foundation, to help special operators transition. We find the industry, find the city they want to live in. And a lot of employers, a lot of CEOs, COOs, they're not happy with some product coming out of the colleges, and they'll take these guys and actually teach them the job. And I have yet to have anyone not say this is the best employee I've ever had. So it is challenging, but once you realize what you're capable of and actually what you're worth, like the only bad news I have for a lot of guys getting into the private sector is you are going to learn what your fair share in taxes is. about it.
Yeah. That's never fun. That's for sure.
Yeah.
At what point, Rob, did you decide to write the book? Like, what was the impetus of deciding to write the book?
Well, my dad, again, being the ultimate fan, had always told me from as soon as I got to BuzzClass 208 in 1996, he said, keep a journal. Always keep a journal. If it's a page a week, just how you're feeling, what you're doing, because eventually you're going to write a book. And I remember my reaction was, Dad, why would anyone ever want to read my book? But I kept the journal. And then my first job out of the Navy was to work in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill. And I got to meet a lot of both sides of the aisle, congressmen and women. And I was asked to go up to the 9/11 memorial to one of the Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney from New York asked if I would donate anonymously the shirt that I wore on the Bin Laden raid. And I said, sure. I want it to be anonymous, though. I don't want my name attached to it. So we went up there, gave it to the curator. And at the time, I didn't know this. There was about 35 people in a small classroom, like elevated seats, like in a college. And they were all people who lost loved ones in the towers. And so we're at the 9/11 Memorial Museum in New York. They've all lost loved ones. And they asked me if I would tell them the story. So for the first time in public, I told them the story, and seeing their reactions, face in hands, crying, because that was the most horrific day you can imagine on anyone. Talking to your husband on the phone, all of a sudden it clicks and the tower falls. And they said to me, putting a real name with a real face, there will never be closure, but this helps with the healing process. And they all agreed. We all had a great time. And then I thought, if I can help with 35 people, I can probably help with 100,000. And if me putting myself at risk, I've put myself at risk before. This is what I came to do, and I'll do it again. So I came up with a script, and I actually submitted it to the Pentagon for approval, which they did. And then it was, if you submit your story to the Pentagon and it's approved, you're not risking anyone, not giving away tactics. I think America and the Western world should know it for historical value. So that it was, believe me, it was a long process to leave the Navy, a very long process to try to find a job, and then a longer process to write a book. But I think it was worth it.
When you wrote the book, you must have known you were going to get some negative reactions from the guys from the squadron and stuff. Goes against some of them would say against.
They would, yeah, of course they do. Well, and again, I have nothing but love, and I'm not going to badmouth anyone, and that's fine. I get how they are. I was part of the Brotherhood for a long, long time. But one of the things I say about, especially Navy SEALs, is if you took 10 random Navy SEALs and dumped a dump truck full of cash in all of their driveways, 5 of them would complain that their driveway is blocked.
We got a few people.
That's with love, by the way.
I agree. So did it come into? Did you think, was that part of the decision-making process? Were you like, look, I'm going to do this thing. There are going to be people that are mad at me, and it is what it is.
No, that had nothing to do with the book. I already felt negativity the day we got back from the Bin Laden raid. And I'm not a victim. I'll never claim to be a victim. But every Navy SEAL that found out Bin Laden was dead, the first thing they asked the other Navy SEAL was who got him, and they would tell him me. And then that guy would go to the bartender would ask him who got him. Well, don't tell anyone. And so we're just kind of spread around, especially in that tight community like Virginia Beach. They just assume I'm outside bragging about it. And we would go to lunch at Clutch, and a shot of tequila would show up anonymously to me. And the bartender would say, it's anonymous, but you know what this is for. And it put me in an awkward spot. So yeah, guys got pissed off. And I was pissed after the Bin Laden raid. I was in Afghanistan on a deployment, and I watched Squadron jump into Africa to rescue Jessica Buchanan, and we watched it on the feed, and they got it. I remember thinking, this is some bullshit. Why aren't we doing it? I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. I get it now. I get the jealousy.
Yeah.
So it sucks, and I wish it wasn't there, but the hard truth is a lot of people want to see successful people fail.
Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth worldwide. And, certainly, I could see that in the teams. You got the ultimate prize, and other people wanted that, and you got it.
And I get it too. If guys were close. If I was that close, at the time it didn't matter. But getting back, being like, man, I would have shot him. And there's even been stories like, well, people say they shot Bin Laden. I'm like, hey, a lot of guys might have shot Bin Laden. I'm just saying I killed him.
Yeah, I would imagine everybody.
If I walked in the room 5 minutes later, I still would have shot him.
Yeah, of course, I'm sure. So, Yeah, it's funny because when I met you at the Bone Frog Open, we were with one of your teammates, a very good friend of mine. You know, you've met Chris many times. He's a friend of yours too. So Chris Frericks is.
He's awesome guy. Awesome guy.
Yeah, awesome guy, and he had such good things to say about you as a leader and mentor and stuff like that. But when I told him you were going to be there, it was kind of almost like he didn't know how to feel. Like he wanted to be all excited and give you a hug and like go shoot the shit, and another part of him was kind of like, oh, that's a weird. It was a weird for me to see that, knowing what he thinks of you.
It's very weird, and I texted him maybe a couple of years after I left, and it was something along the lines of, look, I'm happy I still have your number. Someone gave it to me. I'm glad to hear you're doing well, and I get it if you can't talk to me. And he responded something like, thanks, boss. And that was it. And that's fine. I mean, if they want to do that, that's cool. But one of my first bosses, when I got to Red Squadron at SEAL Team 6, he said, when we get out of this job, we could run the world and each of us make $1 million a year if we just stop messing with each other, if we just got out of each other's way, if we just work together. And that's the case now. And I mean, you can get a lot further with positivity and teamwork than you can with negativity. That's whatever. I don't waste a lot of time thinking about the negativity. If they feel that way, fine. And if someone's hated on me for years and they ask me for help, I'm going to help. That's just my nature. And I'm not going to let negativity weigh me down.
That's good. That's fucking absolutely the way to be. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense to think anything different. I mean, do you miss those guys? The guys?
Oh yeah, I miss all of them, every single one of them, and I miss the camaraderie. I miss the skydive trips. We knock out 7 jumps a day, then go to the Trident in Tucson, hang out with Nelson Miller, former SEAL who owns a joint, and drink beer, and then wake up the next day and skydive. Like that's what keeps guys in. It certainly isn't the paycheck.
Right. No, yeah, for sure. Is there anything when you think back to your time in the teams that you regret or would do differently if you did it again?
Not really. I mean, I don't like to have a lot of regrets. The one regret that I have is after the Bin Laden raid, I went over to one of my good friends, Robert Reeves, who was at Gold Squadron, and we were just talking about a lot of the stuff we're talking about now, the negativity, because it had been a couple months and bullshit. And he asked me if I wanted to have a glass of wine with him, and I like to drink. And for some reason, I said no, I'm not drinking this week. I don't know why. And he poured himself a glass of wine, and he said, one of these days, a lot of us are going to die on one of those helicopters. And he was on Extortion 17, and that's my regret. I wish I would have had that glass of wine.
Yeah, I've heard very good things about him.
Oh well, he was every guy on that helicopter was the best guy we've ever met. It's crazy how that works out. It sucks.
Yeah. So you said you're not a conspiracy theory guy. What do you think about all this crazy conspiracy theories? I mean, you think there's just lunatic people out there coming up with stuff because they're bored or what?
Well, the recent one with the body double, that we killed Bin Laden's body double or whatever, and we buried him at sea because it wasn't him, and we found out about the DNA test on the flight out, and then somehow Hillary Clinton sold missiles through Benghazi to shoot down SEAL Team 6. It's like, I mean, that's an insult to the guys that died, because every guy on the Bin Laden raids alive and every guy on Extortion 17, they weren't on there, but they obviously could have done it. But just for someone to spin that up because they hate Barack Obama so much is an insult to the Gold Star families, that's the kids that still miss their dads in Virginia Beach. It's stupid. And the only reason they raise it up is because they hate Barack Obama. They can't accept the fact that he said yes. And then, like the other conspiracy theories, like the moon landing, it makes me happy every time Buzz Aldrin punches someone in the face. You ever seen those videos? A bunch of videos of him hitting reporters. I love that. But yeah, I mean, the conspiracy, I mean, having been on some of these missions, the most simple, reasonable answer is what happened. Is there an Illuminati? I don't know. I mean, I've heard of places like the Bohemian Grove where people go and dance around fires, but I don't know. If I'm not there, I can't speculate.
So going back to we're coming to the end. Going back to current events, I heard you were on a Delta flight and you got banned. You're very bad.
That is true. And I like talking about that because I was just making a point, because they're making everyone wear masks, and you have to wear a mask unless you're eating or drinking. So we're sitting there, everyone's wearing their mask, and they brought me chips and a water, and she's still serving people. So I took my mask off and I had a drink, and I took a selfie, just realizing How the irony. Now, where I ran into an issue was I put it on Twitter and I put the "I'm not a pussy" on it, and that's a joke. But there happened to be a guy in a USMC hat behind me that I didn't see. I didn't notice. So obviously it comes out first that I'm calling the Marines pussies or whatever, and then there are people saying, "Well, you don't wear masks on flight." I had 6 masks on me. Like, it's not like I wasn't wearing a mask. I was making a point and then tweeted it. And I like to elbow people on Twitter. I'm just joking, but I tweeted and we took off. And so I had about 2 hours for the shitstorm to brew. News outlets picked it up. New York Post called Delta. What are you going to do about this? And no one said anything on the flight. The flight attendant didn't say anything at all. No one said anything at the gates. Walking out of the airport in the car until I found out through text that something happened. And then I had a flight to L.A. the day after from New York to LA, and Delta called me and said, "Yeah, you can't fly, you're banned." And I'm like, are you out of your mind?
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, I mean, they made a big deal out of it. And I could have handled it way better than I did, but I was just surprised. But yeah, I mean, that did happen. It's just like, it's like, all right, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Bad joke.
Well, Delta is right. So the mask thing in general, Rob, what do you think? I mean, I avoid going places now because of the masks. I just don't like the whole. I don't know the best way to put it other than it aggravates me. Oh, there you are.
Yeah, that's me being cute. No, I mean, it aggravates me too. But I even said after, like, if it makes people comfortable that I'm wearing a mask, I'll wear it just because I'm not here to make you uncomfortable. I don't have a problem with that. It's just the ironic. Okay, as long as you're eating, like I'm eating and drinking the whole flight, so I guess I leave it off, and we're all safe from my disease. And if I stop eating, I put it back on. Yeah, I mean, it's I don't. Again, the same with the election. Like, I don't think my voice is going to stop anything, but it is what it is. I mean, it surprised me how quick people were through fear to give up their liberties.
Oh, yeah.
And that's an overreach by the government, and they're gonna, once they get the power, they're not gonna give it back, and we keep voting them in regardless of how. So
that's what that's the scary part, of course, is that let's say Biden ends up making this official, right, which is obviously a very good likelihood. I know the Trump team is busy working on trying to bring to light votes and everything else, but if it happens, there's a chance that he's going to force another shutdown, lockdown, and because it's happened before, it's going to be much easier to do if he wanted to do it again.
Well, I mean, the scary thing is too, you got to figure out how it's affected the kids. You got a disease with a 99% survival rate, yet you're not letting kids go to school. You're forcing that on the parents. That it affects them and all this stuff, and then. I mean, teachers get used to not going to work but still getting paid. The long-term problems here. I see a major problem with it. I mean, again, I'm not an expert. I know COVID's a horrible disease. I'm not going to say it's whatever, but I'm just surprised at how quick it is. They will say, "Shut down your business, stay home." That people will just do it. That's a violation of a lot of your rights as an American.
Yeah, I love one of the things that I thought was very true. The President Trump said is that the cure can't be bigger than the problem itself, right? And that's what we're seeing. That this could become, especially if there's another lockdown, that it could become much worse than the actual issue.
Well, it could be too, and you got to figure, well, we're not doing anything until we have a cure. We still don't have a cure for the flu.
Yeah,
and we're all right. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. Again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but eventually some of us are going to need to pay the mortgage to keep the lights on.
Yes. Well, Rob, we kept you a long time. Thank you for all the time. This was a lot of fun. We loved having you on. Where can people find you? If they want to write to you, how do they donate to the foundation?
Go to robertjoneal.com, and that's where you can find all the stuff about my speaking, about Special Operators Transition Foundation. Basically everything they need to find out about me. Maybe a picture without a mask on a plane. I don't know. And then my handles are at Mikuya, MCHOOYAH. And that's a funny story because that's pronounced Mikuya. When I was getting out of the Navy, one of my buddies from Red Team said, "Hey, there's this thing called Twitter. You got to make up a fake handle, and you can just mess with people, and it's called trolling." And I was like, "That's great. We say Huya in the Navy. I'm O'Neill, Mikuya." And then one of the nights my name leaked as Killing Bin Laden, and I woke up with 15,000 followers. I'm like, super. I'm Mikuya now. So find me there.
That's funny.
Oh, yeah.
people recognize you, Robert, on the street?
It happens quite a bit, and it's generally really good. It's I've had actually people stop coming into like delis, and I have a mask on because I do wear a mask, and they said, "Hey, can I get a picture?" They call me Makuya, and I'm like, "Well, I have a mask on." They say, "Yeah, but I recognize your hat." That's pretty funny.
That is funny.
I've actually had dudes come up to me, and I've been in an elevator in Vegas, and the guy goes, "Makuya, can I get a picture with you?" I said, "Yeah, do you mind if Kid Rock takes it?" He's like, "Oh, fuck elevator did I get on?"
That's awesome. So you had bad reactions too, where people are like angry at you?
No. Very, very, and it's usually because I did something on Twitter minutes prior. But most people are really good. I'd like to. The biggest issue I have with people is like at a bar in an airport, and they're like, "Hey, I want to do a shot with you," and someone will say, "I want to do a shot with you," and then it's all of a sudden, "Well, you all did a shot, but I did 5. This is bad now." I'm about to get on a Delta flight, for crying out loud.
So that explains it then, I guess.
There we go. That's it. That's the answer.
Well, Rob, thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it. And thank you for your service, everything you did for the country. And if anybody hasn't read the book yet, please go out and check out the book. I guarantee you'll enjoy it.
Outstanding, guys. I really appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Very cool.
So
That's pretty cool.
it was really cool. Really cool. Great guy. And
Yeah, real down to earth.
real down to earth. Yeah. He's I had just a little bit of talking to him and his wife at the event. I got a real good feeling that he's somebody that we would like and I'd hang out with. And like, you could see why he is a good leader, because he is a good communicator, why he's a good speaker. He gets paid quite a bit of money to do public speaking because he's engaging.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. He's definitely can control the conversation, and so I can imagine being on the field if he was probably took control regularly. So
yeah,
especially again you have a green guy on the radio that doesn't know how to call in an air sport, and then you gotta bust your ass twice to get there.
Yeah.
So
well, I can tell you, that is what Chris said about him, that he was a great leader and that he was one of his mentors.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was one of the mentors. Like he told him, "Thanks, boss." I mean, he was his boss. He was directly in charge of him. So for him to say such great things, that's why I brought it up. You could tell Robert's not super happy that things have to be that way.
yeah,
It's like a weird mix, because obviously Chris was not mean at all. He was very nice. You could tell he was happy. It was like a weird mix of wanting to
but then
see
you're
his
still
brother,
trying
but
to
then
be
he doesn't want to go
upset
too
the rest
far.
of the brotherhood.
But his wife came up to me. Rob's wife came up and said that it went well. That that Rob was relieved that it wasn't negative in any way.
Yeah, I'm sure again that's probably what from writing the book. It's probably the thing for him the most is that the lack of the brotherhood.
Or maybe maybe his feelings got hurt. He texted Chris,
and you got back, thanks, boss,
and that's it. Like he was trying to be like, hey, we're cool, let's hang out. And just thanks, boss. But for Chris is you know him. He's a quiet guy. He's a reserved guy, and he is going to do what he feels is right, which he definitely 100% told me. He said great things about him, but everybody lives by different rules, right? Yeah. And I can tell you firsthand, I loved the book. I thought Rob was actually a great storyteller in the book, and also one thing he did do that was very he got it approved by the DoD. Yeah. And it didn't give away. The big thing with the books, and the thing that people that the team does really don't like, is giving away the tactics. Right. Because they learn by giving out the stuff that they learned, you could have an enemy use that.
Oh, so you could create a playbook.
Yeah. So that for Call of Duty, some guys got in big trouble. Oh, because they advised active duty SEAL Team 6 guys advised on clearing rooms or how that character should act. And that's a lot different to me, because maybe there is a bad guy out there who could learn that, and who could study, especially if he knew that the team guy was instructing them. So anyway, 100%. Rob was great. I'm hoping to have Representative Matt Gaetz on the show next week. Okay. We'll see. I don't know if you guys know. You pull up Matt Gaetz. How many people will recognize Matt? He's a House representative here in Florida, but he's there at the Capitol in DC. And I got to meet him relatively recently at an event. Seemed like a really cool guy, like our age. Somebody who's been in politics and wanting to be in politics, I think, his whole life. But I'd be interested to hear what he has to say. You got a picture of him?
It's in Ryan's phone.
Ryan has pulled out his phone. Mm-hmm. Not that picture, Ryan. Jesus. That's him. That's probably not the best picture. But hey, There he is. I'd like a preview for next show. Confused?
Yeah, he's like, huh?
Huh?
Good job, Ryan.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for being on the show or watching the show. Make sure if you watch it, tell everybody that the show is available also on Spotify, on iTunes as a podcast. So if you're watching right now on YouTube, on Facebook Live, don't worry, you don't have to sit here and watch it. A lot of people like to listen. As you know, I walk every morning. I listen to podcasts, and that would definitely be my preferred method if I wasn't on the show already.
Well, there you go. He's gonna listen to it again.
Yep. Sorry, guys, for Eric, Silky Tuba, and myself. See you later.